This meeting is called to order. Welcome to the Wednesday, December 20th meeting of the Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me turn over to Dr. Pelletieri to present to us the superintendent's report.
President Scott, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I want to jump right in. Ms. Hines, we have a plethora of people here tonight, right? We have a multitude of staff. And we're going to jump in and talk about, again, our board's request earlier this year. Let's see some updates and some insights into our curriculum. And so tonight, I know we have Marie and Danielle back, who are constantly at it with you in terms of our curriculum office and the work that we're doing there. I thank them again for being here and the work that they've done around this. And if we want to jump right in, ELA and Social Studies curriculum. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us this evening. I want to share with you a presentation on our humanities updates for the Sachem School District. First, I want to thank all of the staff members who came out this evening to help support this presentation. Obviously, it's a very busy time of year, so I'll just introduce them now, and then we'll go through our presentation. This evening, we have with us Bree Dishley, who is a humanities PA and a Winona teacher, grade 4, and she was a former literacy coach with me back in the day. We have our middle school English chair people, Jen Schroeder and Dan Hamilton. Thank you for being here. We have Sarah Rivdenero. Thank you, Rivadenero. I tried to do it phonetically. And Kate Dietrich, 2 of our English teachers from Sachem North. And Mr. Greg Wrightson, our English chairperson from Sachem East. And representing social studies, we have Miss Erin Gurns, who's one of our East social studies teachers, and Miss Tracy Melandro, our social studies chairperson from East, and Tom Sestero, our social studies chairperson from North. So we sincerely thank them for coming out this evening to help share this presentation with us. It speaks to their professionalism and dedication to their craft. Allison, I'm going to do the slides. So as an overview of the presentation, just so that you have a sense, we are going to review ELA first. We'll look at our elementary curriculum, our middle school, and then our high school. And then we'll switch over to social studies and take a look at elementary, middle school, and high school. And please, along the way, if you have questions, you can let us know. Again, thank you for these teachers and chairs who came out to support us. So first, we're going to start off with our English curriculum in grades K to 5. We're very pleased to share that our English curriculum for our reading and writing units of study are complete. That's an example of some of them on the top row there. These are fully integrated units of study. We're really proud of the fact that whenever possible, they are social studies integrated into reading and writing, as well as science, and they're even integrated into our new science curriculum as well. We have some of the best mentor texts available. The teachers are really thrilled to have some really wonderful new read alouds, and not to mention class sets of wonderful titles that are really engaging for the students. If you remember, many years ago, 8 to 9 years ago, we adopted school-wide reading and writing units of study, and they were wonderful. They came with mentor texts. They were a plethora of reading and writing units of study. However, they were aligned to the Common Core state standards. So in the past 3 to 4 years, we've been working to realign our own curriculum so that it's aligned to the next generation learning standards, which involves some tweaking. But we're really happy to share that now our curriculum is written by Sachem teachers or under the development of our staff developers, and it's something digital that we own and can make adaptations to at any time. Our launch units are really important. They start off our school year in a successful manner for all of our students in grades K to 5. So for reading and writing, there are launch units that the teachers have available to them that successfully share with our students how to be a good reader and writer, how to shop for books in our classroom libraries, how to participate in conferences and small group instruction. And from there, we transitioned to 3 reading units of study throughout the year and 3 writing units of study throughout the year. And then we're really proud of the fact that within that time frame, over the course of an entire school year, it still allows time for teacher choice, things that our teachers love and want to incorporate in there as well. Each unit contains everything that a teacher would ever need at their fingertips. So there are anchor charts, there are graphic organizers. In the past, we had binders and the teachers would need to flip through. Now everything is digital. It makes it much easier for them to add things that they love personally, but also just to use our beautiful new smart boards to share the information when they're in the middle of a workshop model. We're really excited also to have added teacher slides for every unit of study. That was new this September, October. So they're examples of those up there. I think they're really helpful for our teachers because if teachers change grade levels or if they're new to a grade level, it's a visual support not only for the teacher, but for the students in the classroom as well, and also provides consistency across our district. As you know, we have 10 elementary schools. Sometimes there's movement. So this ensures that every student in Sachem will get a similar level of instruction, no matter what reading and writing unit the teacher is able to offer. And then at this point, we're really adding some little things that are what I consider to be the icing on the cake. We're adding E&L supports in there. We have teachers reading the books aloud. So for example, if a student is absent for an extended period of time, the students can listen to a mentor text being read aloud. We have some of our mentor texts also translated into other languages for the teachers. And we're also using AI to develop some rubrics to go along with our units of study. The teacher slides have been very well received. Ms. Dishley will talk a little bit more about that. I think they're highly engaging for the teachers and the students. And one of the most important things I think that I'm most proud of is I think that it allows more time for the teachers to break off into small groups and to offer differentiation because they're not having to hunt for maybe some things that they're looking for. Everything is together for them in one place. And then we'll turn it over to Bree.
So moving on to the PD and to the PD and teaching tools. Each of our elementary schools received new Fontes and Pinnell guided reading books, which are there's several genres that has been a great resource for our buildings. Our teachers were the texts are engaging. They're new titles. This really refreshed our guided reading. They come along with they came with lessons to plan for word work for small group instruction, as well as comprehension and higher level thinking skills. And as you can see in that picture, the humanities PAs in each building took a lot of time and care to put together those books and those resources for our teachers to utilize. That's been phenomenal. We also, Christina Seeley has been our a staff developer from Literacy Consultants. She's been with us for 3 years. In the beginning, she was working with, she was working with small groups with grade levels just to get to review benchmarking so that we had consistency across the districts, across the district. This year, she's taken a more diagnostic approach where she's really looking at running records and how we can use the benchmarks in the classrooms to pinpoint critical instruction for our kids, especially at the lower and higher levels that we want to see them succeed. And she's also been working with our special ed classes, getting them again everyone on the same level with guided reading in the classrooms and utilizing our new resources. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Science reading.
Sorry.
You may have heard about the science of reading, has been in the news for the past several years. I think we're very confident in Sachem. We're continually reviewing our curriculum, making sure that we're aligned to the most recent research. Some of the products that we use at this time in terms of software are Here Builder, which helps to support phonemic awareness, and also Foundations, which is a very strong systematic instruction to phonics for our students in grades K to 2. So we feel very confident that we're in alignment there. And did you want to talk about the other software?
Oh, sure. Jack has worked really hard to integrate a lot of software that our teachers can utilize. Clever has been phenomenal in helping even our younger students to access these online resources. We have, I'm sorry, I'm lost. Every student has access to Here Builder, which is, as Marie said, the phonemic awareness piece. It's great for our ENL students as well. It focuses on sequencing, phonemic awareness, and phonics. Everyone has access to BrainPop and BrainPop Junior, as well as BrainPop ELL for our ENL students. Nearpod is a great resource that we have a district page that you can in their library. You can find lessons for social studies, science, ELA, and teachers can also create their own. And then it has a piece in there that the students can answer questions to show that they're understanding the content. We've also this year added quizzes, which is a great resource. It's a gamified review for students of academic what they've learned in the classroom. I'm sorry. And they really enjoy any of these resources that's been gamified because they do live in a technology world. Do you want to add anything to that?
No.
Okay.
I'm just afraid we could talk all day
Yes,
probably
I
about our
know.
elementary ELA curriculum. We have some other.
Yeah, I see that line behind you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shift.
So we just wanted to share, these are some of the resources that are available to teachers. We purchased class sets, and this is an example of the finished products. The students write travel brochures about the country of their choice. So just in close, because we have some notes that we're really proud of the K-5 curriculum at this moment. I think I've been in the district 19 years, and I've never had teachers share with me how happy they are to have a curriculum that we wrote as Sachem teachers and is consistently available to be updated and digitized along the way.
If I could ask while you're both still there, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of and appreciate throughout my years is that it's our curriculum, right? We're not buying something off a shelf and handing it out to people and say, okay, start here, say to the students this, and then they will say that like we're crafting it ourselves. So I certainly appreciate that. And I'm sure the teachers do as well, because it's their work product. But
That's right.
let me ask you, how do we measure success at the K-5 level in ELA?
So, as you know, we have NWA, which is one of our tools. We also do Fontes and Pinnell benchmarking for all of our students. That is really a very important tool because it's one-on-one with students, and you can gain so much as a literacy professional just observing the students while they're doing the reading. And we also have rubrics that are that go along and support our reading and writing units of study.
I'm sure you'll get into other parts about AIS and high flyers and how we're meeting their
Yes.
needs as well. But I'll let you continue
Yes.
at this point. Thank you so much.
Okay. And next up are our middle school chair people. We thank them for coming out this evening, Dan Hamilton and Jen Schroeder.
Good evening. So jumping right in, the real big change that we had in ELA in the middle school this year was the addition of the second period of English in seventh grade, the period and a half of English in seventh grade. And a lot of the conversation that we had this year was in answer to the question, well, we have this extra time, what do we do with it now? And so as we were kind of going through that process and having those conversations, a lot of what you see here was the result of those conversations. So it started out with talking about the use of small group instruction and the extra time for addressing students that have deficits in that second period, and giving really time for teachers to conference with students. Because I think whether a student is at grade level, below grade level, or above grade level, they all deserve to have that conversation about where they are and to understand themselves where they are. It's great when their parents know it and it's great when their teachers know it, but if they don't know it, What do they do with that? And so that was sort of where this all stemmed from. And having that extra time in that second period allows teachers to have conversations with students, not just about their writing, but using all the data that we have from the NWEA, even just having conversations with students about what their strengths are, where they need to, put in a little more effort, and also having them set goals for themselves, sort of looking at that data, because now we have the time to do that, and it's important for them to do that. All of this sort of rolled in with the conversations that we had with Sarah Cordova and her team from Literacy Matters. And they've just been helping us sort of have those conversations to make sure that we are continuing to align with the standards, right? Those next gen standards, and that we're continuing to address those both in our first period of instruction and also making sure that those skills are being reinforced in the independent practice that they do in the second period of instruction. And along with that, we have been given the opportunity to purchase lots of new books, hundreds of new books. The custodians will love me the week those boxes show up at the school, I'm sure. So we purchased lots of new books to include in our classroom libraries to give students the opportunity to choose books that are on their level, so that when they're doing their independent practice, right, we're not handing them a book that's so far over their head that they're discouraged from even trying in the first place. And also have, opportunities for students that are reading above grade level to pick something that challenges them. So they are level texts. They're in multiple genres that align with the units that we're already using for that first period of instruction. So students can sort of work at grade level in the first period of English with the support of their teacher. And then in that second period, in the seventh grade, they've been able to sort of choose their own text and sort of work at their own level to reinforce and practice those skills in an independent way with the support of their teacher, being able to walk around and really work with those groups in a smaller setting.
So to just echo what Dan was talking about, now that we have that second period of English, we've also extended the practices that they use in the elementary into that middle school environment. So one of the things that the teachers have been focusing on is giving that choice to the students so that they are buying into the reading that they are doing, which through the purchases of those extra books that we have in our classroom libraries, now students have the ability to choose texts that are not only that are leveled for them at the right reading level, but also something that they may be interested in. We try to tie in those books that are choice into our current curriculum so that they're thematically related, especially for our 7th and 8th grade classrooms. 6th grade is really looking similar to how that elementary model, they are using those Fontes Pinnell kits for the guided reading, but then they do have the independent reading books so that the students are practicing the whatever skills that they're working on within their regular repeating their everyday period of English in that extra period of English for that independent practice. Over the last few years, we've had a few additional software purchases to help with that independent practice in addition to our independent reading books, such as No Red Ink. That's been a huge shift for us. It's something that the teachers love. It's grammar instruction, it's writing instruction. It really breaks down the writing process, especially for our students that struggle with understanding how to structure writing. It really is it's for a lot of our weaker writers and students that have difficulty with grammar. It's really been a godsend for them. News ELA is something that not only English classes have been using, but other disciplines, because it levels the text, but it gives teachers exposure and things that are current. So there's current articles out there, or whatever the teacher may be teaching in their classroom. They can access it. It's right at their fingertips, and it's just with a click of a button that they can essentially level the text for their students so that everyone is getting the same article, but it's leveled so that students can actually read at their own particular level. We've also been using Sora, which is that electronic books for students. And it really, if students don't have something that they see within their classroom that they like, they can go right on to Sora, and then they can pick out a book online as well. And then our professional development, we have had Christina Seeley come to our middle school as well, just like the elementary school. She's gone over benchmarking with us, and we recently just got all our Fontes and Pinnell guided reading kits. So we're just starting to implement those in those 7th and 8th grade classrooms as well. And for our AIS program, we use Read 180. I think we're in our 5th year now, 5 years now. So we have, reading has become definitely a focus for us at the middle school, that we're making sure that all the students are reading something at their own level, trying to get books into their hands that they're interested in, and, as well as our instruction for our next gen standards as well.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, can I just ask a quick
Yeah.
question? The one you just talked about like 2 things ago, the current articles. What was that called?
Newsella.
Newsella.
Yes. It used to be called News ELA, but now they just say Newsella.
I always had that discussion with them.
Yes,
Is it
that's-
Newsella or News ELA?
It is Newsella. When it first came out, they did say News ELA, but they felt like it was leaving out other disciplines, so they
Yeah.
changed the pronunciation.
What's great about that, Matthew, and you just latched onto it. I can have a conversation about recycling and give an article to kids all at their reading level. And then we can all have the same conversation now when we're differentiating, but it's at my level. So I can now
And
take
they're all
part in
like,
that
they're
conversation.
all
I
like
teach
current
15-1
articles, things that are happening in the news now, but it's all different content areas,
Yeah.
science, histories, you know.
I teach 15-1 English.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that sounded pretty good.
Yeah,
I like that.
it's great.
I had
And
to check
they
that out.
have
Thank you.
they have quizzes built into it. There's power words. The kids
that's
can
great.
track things.
Is it free?
No. Well, there is a free version. There is a free version, but you can't do as much tracking of the data for the
I'm cheap.
students.
Okay.
And
Unfortunate that Ward Melville doesn't have it,
Yeah.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Mm,
was gonna say, do we have something Ward Melville doesn't?
I'm teasing about that.
They'll
But
learn- they'll
there
learn
is a
from
free
us.
there is a free version to start with.
That's the one I'll be using.
You should use that one and then bring some data to your administrators and make a pitch. Yeah, it's a great program. Go ahead. If there's
Mr. Attorney?
So a couple of things come out in the presentation you just gave me that I appreciate. One is when all teachers are different, everybody has their own teaching style, but I'm happy to see the emphasis on, especially down at the elementary school, is calibrating our staff and the consistency across the buildings, because that's very helpful both to the administration, it's helpful to the board. So I'm glad to see that. Also glad to see the emphasis on the reading and the writing, because let's face it, if a child can read, comprehend, and write well, that will stand out in their applications. That'll stand out in the real world. I don't know about, I'm sure things irk me sometimes, and a lot of people will use like YOUR for the contraction of you are, right? How many times have you seen that? So
With the different theirs.
pains you daily? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
sure, it's not just me.
Bane
then.
of our existence.
But there are a lot of things that these students are going to face as they move into college and in high school, of course, that being able to construct a sentence properly is going to make them stand out in the crowd. So the emphasis that we're putting on that, especially catching them early in the elementary school level before our high school people get them to minimize the work they need to do, the rework they might need to do, is certainly going to benefit our students as they move through life. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Other questions from the board?
Can I just jump in real quick? Talk about that extra period, that every other day time. How valuable has that been? And do you think we need to obviously keep it there in ELA? And what would we?
It's been wonderful for our 7th grade teachers. They
Yeah.
just feel like that now they're really able to work more individually with students, being that they have that extra time, whether it's for reading or writing. Obviously we're talking a lot about writing today, but I'm sorry, about reading today, but they do work considerably with, conferencing with students about their writing, about grammar issues that they may have. And it's been very helpful for students. We're both 8th grade teachers. We're hoping that it happens for next year. That 8th grade students would also have the opportunity to have that extra period, because having the opportunity to conference with students on that individual level, it's very helpful. And we tell them all the time as 8th grade teachers, especially, your reading and writing is going to impact all your subjects, especially in the high school going forward when you get into the college. So having a strong foundation and having that time to really work with students, I just think it's invaluable. So our teachers are super appreciative of that.
I just want to state I have seen a tremendous growth in the writing portion with my own children. Mr. Hamilton is a superstar in my house. But where there's choice and that writing is a process, not just write something, hand it in, you get graded. So I do see where that need would be in 8th grade, because I know many times my kids want to go back and conference with their teachers, and it's at lunch. It's,
Yes.
and it would be nice for them to have that time to communicate about their writing, because that's how growth happens. And I saw it, with my kids, and even my daughter showed me something the other day, and I'm like, when did this happen? Like, when did this change? So there's definitely an emphasis on the writing, and I'm seeing that growth in them from 5th grade now till 9th grade. So
And I'm
I
glad that
definitely see it. And I thank
I'm
you
glad
all.
you mentioned that a lot of times the conferencing is happening, like sometimes during lunch or after school for the 8th grade students, because you don't always get to every student, even within, that one period now. And so they forget. So even if it's at the end of the day, they forget what they had done 4 periods prior, or if it's the next day. So having that a period later or 2 periods later would be a lot more helpful for the students to be able to see that real-time, immediate feedback about whatever they have struggles with. And for our stronger students, things that can help them enhance their writing, enhance their reading experiences as well.
Right. And I do see a lot of the choice happening where they could pick what activities they want or to show their, their understanding of whatever they read.
Mhm.
So I do see it, because I know when I came onto the board, writing was one of my major concerns that I was seeing, and even as a teacher in another district. So I have seen the growth in that with my own children, and I see what's coming home, and I definitely see it. So thank you.
Any questions? Yep, Stephanie?
I was wondering, is there any anything changing for kids with dyslexia and support that way from and I know we didn't get to high school yet, but that's something that sometimes shows up as learning disability and then gets caught a little later. So is there any kind of shift to help? Because it seems like the population's increasing as well.
So Sora does have, when students are choosing books, Sora does have a feature that allows students with dyslexia to, it basically highlights the text and it changes the text for them to make it easier for them to read. So there are things that the teachers are implementing within their classrooms for students that have disabilities. I'm trying to think what the other thing.
Fun Hub. We also have a software product, Fun Hub, and the Wilson Academy that was on the previous slide. And I think they have realized that before they didn't really have teacher-friendly software that was available for students. We do pay for that now, but it very much helps to support those students through the software that the teachers have, and it's gamified it a little bit more. So we do subscribe to the Fun Hub now and the Wilson Academy.
And then we have the new extension for Google, those Snap
Snap
and
and
Read.
Read. Mhm.
Yeah. So that allows, it basically highlights the section of the text for the students so that they can,
It allows them to kind of manipulate the text
Yes.
almost, so it can, read to them, highlight for them. For our L's, it allows them to translate to a different language. It allows them to level it for different reading levels. It really allows them to interact with the text, which for students with dyslexia would be really important.
Matthew, you may
Stephanie, I
want to
just
write
wanna-
that one down also,
Yeah.
Matthew.
Matt, you'll definitely like
Ward
that one.
Melville.
Um, Yes, it's actually a Chromebook app.
Yeah, it was just
and-
added. It's just an extension recently that was added for us.
Mr. Renda and his office, we did offer that at Superintendent's Conference Day, but they're going to be doing a tech showcase at all the buildings to ensure that all the staff knows how to use it, because we were only using it for our very 12 and 15 self-contained, but we opened it up to any student going off of our differentiation. But I just wanted to address, on top of 6th and 7th grade having 2 periods, anybody who is in a self-contained special ed class, they have a 3rd period for literacy. That is also where they get their specialized reading. And if there was something in terms of dyslexia, that's also where those skills on top of the software and everything else that we have in our classrooms is really, dedicated to supporting our students for that.
Other questions? Just one question I have, and I'm going to throw this out there. This is the question that kind of raises some eyebrows, especially in our business office. What are the biggest challenges that you see right now that you're facing, and we're going into budget season? How could this board help support those challenges that you might have?
Class size is huge.
Class size?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, we have some classes that I have my integrated co-teaching class. I have 31 students in that class. So again, I teach 8th grade. So I don't have that extra period of English. So to really try to conference with a class size that large, even with the second teacher, because we have so many students that have deficits in that class, it's challenging. And even some of our higher level classes, our honors classes, there's 34. So that's a lot of students within one class. No matter how great the teacher is, having that many bodies, you're not getting enough time with the students when you have that many students to attend to within a period. So,
And have you seen a big influx of new learners, new ENL students?
yes, but my building, we do still have the self-contained ENL.
Okay.
I'm at Sagamore, so they would not necessarily, unless they're commanding students, they would not be in our English classroom because we still have the self-contained program at Sagamore.
All right.
You would have that. Dan would have that.
Yeah,
so.
we have seen, I wouldn't say a huge influx, but we do have L students, joining us every day and being worked into the classes, which is why, having that extra time to, address, when we talk about differentiation, I think sometimes we focus on, adapting for students with special needs. And I think, differentiation is about tailored instruction, right?
Okay.
So whether a student's below grade level, at grade level, whether they speak English, they speak another language, they're way above grade level, they're all sort of deserving of that tailored instruction. So by having that extra time, whether it's, addressing a student with, needs as an L student or students that have, a reading deficit or whatever the case may be. And even in an honors class, I have 2 honors classes and I have to differentiate in those classes as well because there's 30 different kids sitting in front of me. So I think that extra time has allowed us to address a lot of those.
And something you brought up earlier was the extra, the double period of ENL in 8th grade. I mean, the double period of English. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for coming out. Yeah, sure.
We don't have the ENL self-contained in every middle school. No.
It really depends on the number of students and what type of services and minutes are needed. So at Sagamore, we happen to have more of the entering just because that's just naturally how it falls. But certainly we have standalone classes because that's actually mandated minutes that we have to afford. Just happens that Sagamore does have more of those students.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming out, guys.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
And next up is our high school representatives. So in terms of what's happening in our high schools with ELA, obviously we're continuing that professional development and doing a lot of work around how to support differentiation in our classrooms. We are also happy to share that we have an influx of new books at the high school as well. I had an email from a teacher the other day. She was so excited to have new materials in her, this was happened to be Sachem North. It's been a while and she was very excited. We also are doing a lot of work to support the struggling readers. We do assess our students with NWA, and there are a number of software tools that we can use, Achieve 3000 and Read 180, that actually call upon the NWA data of a student and then help to support the instruction there. We recently did some professional development with our English departments on the next generation learning standards. And we just wanted you to have an insight into the most recent passing rate for our ELA regents. And they're going to talk a little bit more about our proud success with the AP capstone at both of our high schools. First up is Sachem East.
Hello. As you guys can see on the board there, we've had a lot of success in the capstone program. It's been going better than I ever could have imagined when we first started this program. Last year, you see 82 students took AP seminar, which is a big number. And this year, it has gotten even larger. We now have 116 kids in AP seminar this year. The vast majority are sophomores in high school. There are some juniors, and I recently met with guidance, actually yesterday. We were talking about if you take seminar as a junior, then as a senior, you would take research. You wouldn't necessarily have that certificate yet. Like you couldn't possibly have earned it yet. And what one of our guidance counselors told us was as they're filling out the common application and they're working on their college application process, I forgot the exact language of it now, but it says that they're working toward it. They're capstone candidates. That's the exact language. So even if they take it as a junior and then senior, they may not have earned that certificate or diploma that they can write about in their applications, but they will have that noted on their applications that they are capstone candidates. So it works for the juniors and seniors as well. So we have 82 students last year. We had 95% earned a 3 or above, which is pretty outstanding. You see on there, New York State, only 76%, globally 84%. So we as a building vastly outperformed all of those other disciplines, all those other areas with a pretty sizable number of students. In terms of this year, Autumn Danziger is working right now with Brookhaven Lab in Cold Spring Harbor. She's using mushrooms to try to filter out the pollutants in our rivers and streams. Right now, she's trying to figure out whether or not those mushrooms would then be edible. So I've got some questions there, but I'll ask her. Carolyn Keegan, great kid. I had her 2 years in a row. She's working on shark teeth, which is not something I ever expected to study. But with climate change and melting of glaciers, we have decreased salinity in our oceans. Because of that, getting a better sense of the effect that that's having, she's looking at the effect that it has on the teeth of sharks. And she promises me she's not fishing and pulling them, but she's talking to different people at Stony Brook's Marine Studies Department about that research. And one of our prouder moments here, Mr. Morrow, great kid. He took research, he earned the certificate, he earned the diploma, and he was very happy to say that he just got accepted into Harvard a couple days ago. So capstone program working pretty well.
Okay, so hi, I'm Kate Dietrich. I teach AP Seminar at North. So just wanted to highlight a few of our success stories as well. So Emma Poland was part of the first group of students who took Seminar the first year that it ran at North. And so I had her as a 10th grader in Seminar, and she really wasn't sure where she wanted to go after high school, what she wanted to do, but she completed the program, so Seminar and Research. And when the opportunity came across her to continue doing some research at Binghamton, she jumped on it because she just got so interested in this through the exposure through this program, which isn't something you typically get in a lot of your other classes. It's a very unique course. So we were happy to see that it inspired her to now find what she wanted to do after high school. Ashley Edgar is a current senior at North. She received a perfect score on her AP research exam. So that's a 4,000 to 5,000 word paper and a 15 to 20 minute presentation with oral defense. And she scored perfectly on both of those. Less than 2% of students worldwide achieve that. So it's a really incredible achievement. She studied the impact of different melodies and different genres of music on fish. So she conducted her own experiment. It's pretty neat. Ryan DeSimone is another one of our seniors. He was able to present his research at a local rally. He was researching the impact of special needs children and how it impacts the stress levels of their parents. And this research was then presented to the governor, who actually used it to lobby for an increase in funding for families and adults with special needs. So really interesting to see that his research is really making a difference. And same with Andrew Metzger, who is our salutatorian this year. And he researched child trafficking in West African nations and the impact that has on coffee production. Very interesting. And even though the course ended last year for him, he completed the program. He's still continuing with his research. He'll be presenting that research that he completed last year to Northwell Health. They're setting a date, so that'll be happening soon. And they've also connected him with local organizations on Long Island so that he can replicate his research here to see the implications on Long Island. And he volunteers weekly at a local food pantry that helps children and families who are victims of trafficking. So what I really wanted to highlight today is just that this is so much more than just a course project or a class grade. This is students really finding things that they're interested and engaged in, and then they're able to go make a difference in their community and find something that they're really passionate about. So as Greg said, the program is really such a success, and it's off to a great start in its fifth year. Yeah, a few years now, but it's going great. So thank you.
Questions from the board? Sabrina?
I had a question. We had the tri-state interviews, and some of the board members were part of it, either as parent or board members. And one of the questions they asked us was about, how is the board seeing how critical thinking is happening in our district? So thank you for this, because this is where we're able to see the hard work that's going on in the classrooms, or then what are we putting out into the world? So this was definitely something that allows us board members to see that all the professional development and all that's going on. So I thank you for that, because we really see how the students are taking what is being presented to them in the classroom and they're making it their own, and obviously having some real accolades when it comes to this. So thank you.
Questions? Thank you so much for presenting.
If I could just offer, and thank you, as Mr. Isernia kind of intimated before, it's not GPA or SAT or ACT scores. Colleges look to see that you challenge yourself with the most rigorous course of study available in your school. And you guys are providing that, and I really appreciate that. And it makes me feel good to hear that those numbers are continuing to rise, that more students are going to challenge themselves. And that will mean, as Sabrina said, accolades for our students. We have a young man getting into Harvard and some of these other great programs as well. And that's because of the diligence, the work that's starting at the elementary level through middle school and through high school in ELA. And so I so appreciate that. Thank you.
And so next up, Mr. Patrick Berry is our Sachem North English chairperson. He couldn't be with us this evening. He had a family obligation with his sons, but Sarah is here to share with us some of our some information about a new software that we use to provide remediation and enrichment at our Sachem, at both of our high schools. So Sarah.
Hello, my name is Sarah Rivdanera. I'm one of the high school English teachers over at North. So this year it is a completely new program, Achieve 3000. It completely aligns with the ideology and the consistency that we're trying to strive for at the middle school levels. After hearing our middle school chair people speak, it is nice, and it's been mentioned, that we are consistently then striving for the same goal for our students. And that goal really is to increase those literacy rates for all of them. It's not, you can't deny it. The reading is going to help them across the board in all of their content areas, and it starts then in those English classes. So what Achieve 3000 really is it's this program that, again, is going to focus on those literacy rates for all of them. But it's going to focus on the differentiation, which is another important aspect that across all of the buildings, we're all working on with the teachers and then with the students. We have different learners, we have different leveled learners, and a program like Achieve 3000 is going to then make it easier for the teachers to then accomplish that and then facilitate more and easier success for our students. So I know that these images just look like a bunch of random numbers and data. But what we follow then for the high school level are the New York State alignments and expectations for the regions. So for 9th and 10th graders, they should be at a Lexile level of 1035 to 1550. So for the first image on the left, you'll see then, it's hard for me to see, honestly. You'll see numbers that are in red. Those numbers are going to show that those students aren't exactly proficient for what the expectation would be by the state, because they aren't yet in that range between the 1035 to 1550. But then I believe that color is blue. I'm not colorblind, I just can't see. But they then would meet that expectation, and they're where they need to be. So what Achieve 3000 does then, the students all take a baseline test, and based on how they do for that baseline test, they then are generated through the program a Lexile level. Now, for me in my classes, when I then assign an article for them, they're going to have a tailored text for them. It's the same article, but based on their reading level, which is such a great service for them, because student A, let's say, who has a Lexile level of 1050, and student B, who has a Lexile level of 800, let's say, it's a disservice to both of them giving them the same exact leveled text. Student A isn't going to be challenged enough and they aren't going to grow. But then student B, for example, it may be too difficult for them and now they can't understand the text at all. So Achieve 3000 really is this great program that we're able to use this year. It aligns directly with NWEA, which we're using for the 9th graders. No red ink, we're able to use at all of the grade levels. So it is nice then that the students will continue to see, even if they're not using the same programs for each of the grade levels, the expectation is the same for them, that we're focusing on their literacy rates on these Lexile levels and getting them really prepared for what the next step is for them, whether that is college, whether it isn't college, but either way, the reading and writing is important for all of them.
Stephanie?
Okay, so I'm reading Greek, but so if they're Lexile level, like you see how some had, the one kid, Christopher, has a 1050, but is that his average test score?
So that 1050, that's his Lexile level. So when he took the baseline test originally, that's what Achieve 3000 generated for his reading level. So the level text that he's reading, so let's say I give all the students an article on the Great Depression. His text will then be at that level for 1050. For those kind of squiggly lines, those jumps, that's going to then indicate for each of those little circles or bubbles, if you will. Those are all of the different assignments that he's taken. So the first one is a little bit lower, and then it jumps up to show that he did a little bit better on that next assignment. It bumps back down. So then for me on my end, I can use this data and I can say, oh, I see, significant growth here, or maybe I don't see any growth at all. But Achieve 3000 truly is really great in the fact that I don't have to go and change anything each time then. So if you want to take Christopher, if he continuously is declining in his performance, Achieve 3000 takes care of that, and then they'll tailor the text based on how he can succeed and understand the text better. And not only are they going to then change the text for them in accommodation to what they're able to read and understand, there's all other tools that the program will have. So we mentioned for, I think, Sora, where they can highlight, you can highlight different lines so that then if it's difficult for them to read multiple lines at a time, they can then make it in that way easier to read, because it is sometimes difficult to read things that are online. And also, one of my personal favorite tools that the program has, they can highlight individual words and have a translation or definition for it. So even if, the program doesn't know every single word that each kid does or does not know, but it will still challenge them. So a kid doesn't know one word, let's say, they say, Mr. Iv, I don't exactly know what this means. You have the resource, highlight it, and it will tell you then what the definition is.
And then, so Vadley is killing it, right? Because they're at an 87, the first one, but their lexicon is low. So they're doing well in the class? Or I'm reading it backwards?
I can't read what his lexile level is.
Her lexile is low, but she's consistently that low.
Right.
But
Right.
the average score is, that's not a grade?
That's for.
It's not a grade, it's her lexile.
No,
The first one is like her accuracy rate, like how she did on each activity. So she's making progress, and then the red is the reading level.
Did 4 assessments, right? Activities, and here's her bubble for each one. And so she's been consistent.
So Valdi's, for example, I would predict that what the program probably would do would say, okay, Valdi at this point is pretty consistent where he's at. Let's kind of up the ante for him and give him a little bit more difficult of a text to then help him grow as a reader. Yeah, no problem.
Just one question I have. Do the students have access to see how they're doing? Or is this more of a tool that teachers use, for
That's a
monitoring?
good question. For this specifically, clearly I can see this is a class overview and they wouldn't have access to this because it has the other students' data.
Well, I'm not saying access to other students' data, but access to their own.
They
data.
should be able to. I can't honestly speak for sure if they can, but I would imagine that they can see, they should be able to pull up their own information and say, okay, I've completed 4 assignments. My teacher asked me to do 5 this month, let's say, and then keep track of it in that way. I would imagine, and I'll probably be looking into that now tomorrow. But I would imagine that for each of these individual students, they should be able to see what their own work would state. I more so use it for I don't think they're going on and using it and looking at it, but I use it on my end to then say, and I can group them based on their lexile level. I can group them based on if they have been kind of up and down a little bit because you can see then the performance if there's decline or an increase. So it's nice then for grouping them as well. Normally I use it for just individual work because that's how they're going to then obviously do better with their individual reading.
This is a new program for us too. Mr. Barry and Mr. Wrightson actually brought it to our attention that they wanted to be able to use it because just like we have the every other day period in 7th grade, we have it for those who are in need of extra support for their reading and writing at 9th grade. So that's why we want to try and put it into 8th grade if we can through staffing. So literally, and I'm so amazed that you are doing such amazing work with it. They were only trained 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of opportunity for student reports and everything, but right now it's just getting it underway. So I know tomorrow you're going to go and figure out how to get the students to look at
when
it.
I walk in the building. I'm going to say, I wonder. But yeah, so we only have it for the regular, so the Regents level 10th grade classes at this point. and most of the other grades are jealous that we have it because we're only hearing good things and we're only delivering good things, because it really is. It's making the job that we're asked but want to do easier for us to do for the students.
It's important to identify any deficiencies or struggles that kids are having and address them earlier than later, which seems like this program does. So
I
thank
agree.
you so much.
Thank you.
So I personally have some experience with the Chief 3000. I really have engaging articles in there, and so the kids are motivated. It's almost gamified to a certain extent. They can see their progress or lack thereof, and they continue to. And we can set it up so they have access in the summer, at night, on the weekends, during breaks and things like that. And we would often find that kids go in and challenge themselves and go beyond what's the minimum in terms of what teachers are asking them to do, because they'll start to see their own lexile improve. So it really is a solid product.
And they do like to see the progress that they make, because what the program will do is they'll send them like these cute little like stars and achievements, and it'll let them know when they've achieved the next level of something. So it's kind of something also for them to look forward to, because then the first time when it happens, they'll say, oh, what did I do? What did I earn? Something just happened. I said, yeah, you did really well on your past couple of assignments, and it's showing in a growth in your literacy. So well done.
Much for
Thank you.
presenting that.
Okay, next up, our social studies folks. I'm just going to briefly review with you our social studies curriculum in grades K to 5. As I've already mentioned, it is integrated into a lot of the literacy that we're already doing. However, we do use social studies weekly as the foundation of our K to 5 curriculum. Over the course of the past year and a half, and Ms. Dishley helped us with this, as well as we took the entire social studies weekly curriculum and aligned it to the New York State standards, so that we were able to help the teachers focus on what was really essential in order to meet the standards there. In addition to this resource, which we're always looking for a really sweet spot combination of print materials as well as software. Social Studies Weekly is a magazine type version that each child has access to, and then it's also integrated into our Google Classrooms via Clever. Again, it's also the teachers are able to adjust the lexile levels for students. They're able to have it read aloud to them. But I personally like it also because students who don't have a lot of reading materials at home are able to take this home and read things to their parents that they learned and share some of those resources. In addition, we're really cognizant of the fact that social studies curriculum in grades K to 5 is a lot of civics and helping make sure that our students understand what it means to work as part of a community, be a good citizen, and have civic engagement. We're setting the foundation there for the work as they move forward to the middle school and high school. And in terms of our middle schools, our representatives from there couldn't be with us this evening as well. They had family obligations, but they are proud to share that they've been working a lot on project-based learning, integrating more web quests and leveled questions into their curriculum. And we're very proud of the Seal of Civic Readiness in 8th grade. That is an interdisciplinary unit. We're working closely with our library media specialists. And this past year, we had approximately 85% of our students who were able to earn that 1 point before they entered high school by doing that capstone project. We had some of our students present, I believe, last year at the Board of Education meeting. And again, at the middle school level, we're also helping to work with the students to understand their civic engagement and the responsibilities involved in that. I noticed at our community event, a lot of the students were middle school students who were part of clubs, and they came to volunteer their time to be part of something greater and bigger than themselves. And we also had additional training recently in professional development around our next generation learning standards, which incorporate social studies content as well. And on our high school, turn it over to Mr. Sestero.
Thank you. Good evening. First, I'd like to talk about our Regents results. So we have 2 new exams so far. A global history exam is in its second go round. The U.S. history exam, we just had our first test last year, and we performed very well. Our students did outstanding. They rose to the task on these exams, which are challenging. Our staff worked hard at preparing these kids for these exams. And in terms of other things we did to get ready for that, I have to say, when we think about what happened at our middle school level, the vertical integration that we saw going back to 2017, 2018, in preparation for these exams, as we moved to work on the skills that are present in these exams are much harder than their previous U.S. history and global history exams. And the staff really worked hard, even at the middle school and the lower levels, to help us prepare to get the kids ready for that. And then our professional development was there, and that we're very thankful for that as well. In regards to the pilot plan, both high schools, North and East, have applied to be pilot schools for this New York State performance-based learning assessment. And what this is the state, as the state moves to offer an alternative pathway to graduation, which will allow maybe kids who struggle on these standardized tests an alternate route with these project-based assessments. We want to be one of the pilot schools. And why we think we'd really be good at being one of these pilot schools is, when we look at some of the other things I want to talk about here, things that are very related to it. I mean, the seal of civic readiness, very similar to project-based learning activities, and then the work that you just heard about with our AP research and our AP capstone programs are very similar as well. And the groundwork that we laid there to build those programs, we believe will help us with this project-based learning and assessment work that we can do. And we've been trained, some of us have been trained on this already, and we look forward to working on this as we go forward. When I think about the name on the wall over there, Sal, I think about the next thing, the seal of civic readiness. He's looking down on us, very proud of that. Sal used to chase me in meat farms. We'd be in meat farms in Holbrook together, and he'd be chasing me saying, when am I coming to your classroom? When am I going to talk about civics? When are we going to bring in leaders? He would be very proud of what we've been able to accomplish in a very short period of time. Last year, we graduated over 60 kids with the seal of civic readiness. And this year, the number is going to be well above that between the two schools as we continue to move forward with that. And again, the help of our middle school there, as that ninth grade class that's in ninth grade this year already has that point, will help us graduate even more kids in the future as we go forward. So the kids have to get a total of 6 points. They have to have civic knowledge, which is based on their effort in all their social studies classes and on their performance on social studies assessments. And then they have to participate in civic activities. They have to volunteer, be active in their communities. They have to solve problems. They come up with problems. If they're doing a project, they actually come up with a local problem or issue that they want to research. They do the research on that project. Then they go ahead and they offer solutions to that problem, and they present their work and then also reflect on it as well. So it's that kind of activity that I think is really meaningful. And when we think about the next level and we think about where they're going, I think that's really important. Alongside that, you've heard about AP capstone. So this past week at the school, we got to see for the first time some of the research projects that the kids will be working on this year, as we looked at some of their proposals in our IRB committees. And, so just off the top of my head, effects of social media on the concentration of teens, the impact of lawn care practices in the Northeast on the environment. We all know we're guilty there, greening those lawns. So this is the first look for us in the beginning of this process. And, we give the kids a little bit of feedback, at this point, in terms of ethics and moving forward, and then they go forward with their projects and work on that, and they'll present those later in the school year. Remarkable work. The last thing up here, I'd like to mention is we had a teacher at the Long Island Council, Erin Gerns, who's here tonight. presented at the Long Island Council for best practices of Holocaust instruction. And, we were all there. It was remarkable. So I'll bring Aaron up.
Standing room only.
I think I went backwards. Sorry. I'm going backwards again. There we go.
It's okay. It's late. Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. These are some photos of my students and a photo taken by Marie at my presentation at Long Island Council. My name is Erin Gerns. Last summer, I was one of just 30 educators selected from the United States for the prestigious Echoes and Reflections Advanced Learning Seminar. This was held at the International School for Holocaust Studies at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity provided me with new perspectives on Holocaust education, and I'm very proud to be bringing all of these practices back home to Sachem. Quality Holocaust education is important for many reasons, including battling anti-Semitism, encouraging historical empathy, and educating the next generation to avoid the mistakes of the past. I recently led this workshop called Telling the Human Story to share my instructional approaches at the Long Island Council. A study was done in 2020, which contained very troubling statistics about what young people, and they classified young as under 40, people in the United States know and don't know about the Holocaust. I know I'm offended, right? I'm offended. I was shocked at the lack of Holocaust knowledge in the United States, and I was taken aback by the fact that New York ranked among the states with the lowest knowledge of the Holocaust. Schools have to do better, and I'm very proud to work at Sachem because we really are leading the way. I just want to share 2 highlights from our program for you. Over the past couple years, we've had hundreds of Sachem students visit the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center in Glen Cove, where they've engaged in educational museum programs, and they've met with Holocaust survivors. This museum has done so much for our students. Students tend to remark to me that it's transformative to them. They come back and talk to me about it years later about how the stories have stayed with them because they're not just stories. It's lessons in character, resilience, and the importance of choices. And again, these are just some of the photos there from actually our last 3 visits. Additionally, our students have taken on the role of citizen historians and done very important projects. We have contributed over 200 submissions that later became part of the online collection of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. To do this, students researched and selected events that occurred during the era of the Holocaust, which is 1938 to 1945, and they found related primary source articles in local newspaper archives. So we project-based learning to the max here, learning how to use these databases. And it's very interesting to show modern students who are so used to finding news quickly, how to go through a newspaper from 1939 that was published in Patchogue and find this information. So the students would then submit their research to actual historians at the museum in DC who would give them feedback, and they added these submissions. So if you go and search online under the Americans in the Holocaust exhibit, there's hundreds of submissions there from our SHME students that they've contributed something to the historical narrative. And future historians will be able to go back and look at that as well. So those are just some of the highlights of the things that we've done. I'm very excited to bring back a lot of the things I learned this past summer in Jerusalem, and thank you for your support of Holocaust education in Sachem.
Questions from the board?
Ms. Gerns, before you go away, go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say how important that is. I mean, I don't know how many people know, but I'm sure you do. When Eisenhower got there, he said, make sure you film this because people will forget.
Yes.
So that's why you have all the movies you have.
Yeah. And I wanted to go ahead.
I was going to say that's why that meeting the survivors is so important, because when we talk about Holocaust survivors, we really don't say stories. We'll say that they're sharing a testimony because it's sacred and it's sworn. And then they always entrust our students with the responsibility to carry that story on. So just like Eisenhower said, to make sure the future knows.
Ms. Volpe?
How many students get to go to this museum?
I bring anywhere from 30 to 60 at a time.
One of the things, my previous life, I was a photographer, and I did a lot of bar mitzvah and bat mitzvahs, and seeing the grandparents and great grandparents on the sideline watching their lineage and they have the tattoos. And it's so impactful to see that. And I think our kids really need to see it. and there's not that many survivors left.
There's not. And this particular museum, which is, it's such a gem, and you don't have to go with a school group. You can just go to HMTC. You can go visit on your own. It's in a beautiful nature preserve. Because of the advancing age of the survivors, they've lost several just in the past year. There's a lot of opportunities that we can bring into for webinars through people that are literally in Jerusalem, through people that are in Glen Cove. There's a lot of Holocaust survivors on Long Island that do Zooms due to their health and their age. And there's also now, and this is really quite beautiful and related to what you said, second generation and third generation survivors. So the children and grandchildren of the survivors who know how important it is to carry that story forward. And I will tell you that I've been so blessed in my life to meet so many of these wonderful people. And every single time it's an emotional connection. And it's, we think sometimes students don't connect with certain things emotionally, and they really do.
They
really
don't
do.
realize that there are people that are still walking around and that their
Yes.
family survived too.
Yes. So many on Long Island.
It's so impactful that every single time I saw it at a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, I remember it. And watching the grandparents, I'm going to get emotional, cry over the fact that they're there for their grandkids. It was, and to hear that New York is low,
I was
absolutely
very surprised.
blows my mind, especially
Yeah.
from where we're from.
Yeah, that it scared me. And I know deep in my soul that that's not our Sachem kids. And not to say not here, but we really do make sure that the students get the point across. I was definitely shocked to see New York down in the bottom. I won't, no disrespect to other states, but I definitely expected a little bit more from New York with that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, also with the alarming rates of anti-Semitism, this is so important.
Yes.
So important.
Yeah.
As one of the Jewish families of Sachem, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So
And
thank
say
you for
hi to
what you
Ricky
do.
and Olivia for me.
What's that?
Say hi to Ricky and Olivia for me.
I will.
Tell them I said hi.
Now, those are
Especially
your kids,
the
man.
online issues too. The kids they see so much anti-Semitism online.
That's great.
And that it's nice to be able to have a way to talk about it in class. And
Thank you so much.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Gerns.
Ms. Gerns, 1 second. And so that was my comment, really, just in terms of we're losing our survivors and we're
Yes.
losing our World War II veterans. And what are we doing to memorialize that's going forward? I'm happy to hear you say about how families are carrying this forward. And our own students, right, need to memorialize these experiences and bring them forward. So I'm glad to hear we're working through that right now.
I'll add one more thing since you said memorializing. We just started Project Spectrum, which is a club that I advise. Just started. We're making a Holocaust memorial in the hallway. Butterflies are sort of recognized internationally. There's a poem, I won't read it, it's quite sad, called I Never Saw Another Butterfly. And it's about children and the Holocaust. So we're starting to get that going as well. So we'll invite you all when you want to come and see the finished product. It'll be a while, but we're starting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You went on one of our European trips.
I did, yes.
Where did you go?
We went to Austria, Switzerland, and Germany.
Oh my gosh.
And in 4 months from today, we're going to Paris. And it's going to be incredible.
When are the Olympics? Is that this?
We're going right before the Olympics. So my whole plan here was that they'll get the place all spruced up for us. We'll
Yeah.
see all the things. We
Beautiful.
can buy the merch, and then we can watch the Olympics on TV and say we were just there.
Good for you.
Should
Good
we
for you.
send a board member on that trip?
We need a board member, chaperone, advisor. All right.
You have to be under 40 to go.
You have to be young. Is there anyone here that's young on this board? Are you young still, Alex? Oh my, he is. According to the definition of young, he
That
is.
was not.
Well,
not my
Dylan's-
definition, by the way. Not my definition.
That's an easy one. That's an easy one, Dylan. That's great. And Dom, wrestling, I guess, right? Okay. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen.
We just have one final slide, a little look at some of our social studies electives.
All right. Lastly, robust offerings as we move into after break, as we have curriculum night and curriculum events going on, and kids begin signing up for classes for their next year. We offer quite a bit of robust offerings here in social studies. Just to highlight a few of them, AP Human Geography is fairly new. It's in his second run here at Sachem. That comes alongside with the research seminar class, which helps kids work on those research and writing skills. And hopefully down the road, we develop some more of those capstone students out of that, and also to have success in our AP programs. A few of the others, as we look through history of American sports, history of Long Island, 2 courses that are running at both high schools this year, and give kids, a personalized experience of history in things they're interested in and things they really like. So those are fun courses. Student leadership gives us an opportunity to partake in volunteer activities, which directly relate to that civic seal of readiness. And we have the opportunity in social studies to test out 24 AP college credits are what's available in our social studies program starting in 9th grade, which look, as a dad who has 2 daughters in college right now and 1 more about to go to college, I'm going to need a part-time job. So anything helps. Thank you.
So that concludes our presentation. If there's any further questions, we'd be happy
Any
to.
last questions? No, I know it's a difficult time of the year, especially right before the holidays. On behalf of the Board of Education, we want to thank you for coming out and presenting to us and really, giving us a ton of information on what's going on in our ELA and social studies programs. And we certainly want to wish you a happy holiday and a happy, healthy new year. Yeah, well, we'll do that at the end. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay. Always looking for people to stay. Yeah, I'm sure we do. I'm sure you do. Have a good night. You're going to kind of pick up right where we left off there in terms of college credits, as our teacher was talking about. We have been working with Dr. Miller, our guidance folks, and working on some partnerships now with Stony Brook University, 5 towns, SUNY Farmingdale, and we're happy to announce that we will be bringing forward what appears to be another 16 courses at both East and North that will be 2 dual credit courses. And what that means is our students will now have the opportunity to take these 16 additional courses to get high school and college credits at the same time. It's really an amazing opportunity. We have about 16, 18 already, so we're going to double that in a very short period of time. Some of those courses are English 12, film studies, intro to business. We have some in the theaters and arts as well now for 5 towns, which is incredible. And our kids will be able to, we looked at that slide before, in 9th grade, they can take an AP course that can garner them college credits all the way up through their senior year. We're looking at students who should be able to take, whether it's by AP or through these dual credit courses, they could graduate Sachem schools and arrive at college as sophomores, which would really be amazing for our parents, for our communities, for our kids themselves, in terms of making that level of investment that it takes to graduate these days. And statistics tell us, the research tells us that most kids now take 5 to 6 years to graduate. And by being able to give them that year in advance before they arrive, that would help get them down to 3 or 4 years, which would be really a boon to our families and our community. So I want to thank Dr. Miller and all our folks in the departments that have worked to create those dual credit courses. And my understanding is, again, for example, the film studies courses from Stony Brook, it's going to be accepted in a great many universities. 3 credits for, I think it's going to be $300 from Stony Brook University.
And Chris, when is that available? Starting in September?
So for the most part, these will all start in September.
Yeah.
The one that will be starting right now is film study.
Right, January.
In
So how do kids
January,
sign up for
February.
that if it's halfway through this?
Well, it's a semester course.
Right,
So it's twice a year. So get to your counselor now,
right, and they can
for
sign
the
up for it.
February course.
Right.
They may be full already,
Right.
especially now that I just said this. But
yeah.
Yes, you have to see your counselor and sign up for that course.
What grades is that available to?
These courses here, Patty,
10,
know,
11,
right?
and 12?
10, 11, and 12?
10, 11.
Yeah. Again, some great opportunities. Graphic design, advanced photo, sound and recording, music theater performance. We have some great partnerships growing there as well. Virtual enterprise marketing, some really neat things for our kids. And it was part of our goal for this year and our 5-year plan as well. So I know we're really underway there, and I want to thank those folks. So I'll set that one aside. tonight in your folder, each board member received this packet, this newsletter from BOCES. And for some reason, I was staring at the cover of this newsletter. And sure enough, when I open it up and look on the inside, on page 3, that young man that is on the cover is actually Eric Weatherby, welding and metal fabrication CTE program graduate 2022. He's now a registered apprentice for Local 362 Iron Workers Union, and he is a Sachem grad. So really neat, Patty.
A Grundy grad too.
I guess he was your student, Patty, at Grundy? Okay. And at North. Excellent. You can take credit for him, Patty, if you want. But congratulations to him again.
And the nicest young man.
Really? That's nice to hear. Again, on the cover of the paper. So newsletter, very nice. Just want to bring him some recognition there. He's on top of the world, as they say here, which is fantastic. And Ms. Pickowicz, you mentioned Tri-State. Tri-State, we had a visit from the Tri-State. Folks came in from the Tri-State area to observe our classes, interview students, teachers, faculty, observe lessons that were going on. We asked them to look at critical thinking, creativity, and differentiation in our district. We got some great feedback. We're going to get a written report, which I'll share with the board. But there is a video that we did film some of the fishbowl that they had at the end, where we all came in to this room actually, and sat in a circle and heard some feedback from them. That's on video. Jack actually put that together for us, Mr. Renner. It's about 19 minutes to be exact. And I'll share that with the board, and then we'll hope to get that out to the public as well on our website so they can hear some insights from some true professionals. You want external validation. You can't just look at yourself and pat yourself on the back and say, hey, we're the best. You have to really get people from outside to come in and shine that flashlight and say to you, here's where you're doing well, here's where you might have a deficiency, and how might you overcome that. And so that's something that we're engaged in. I appreciate Tri-State doing that. And then just lastly, I would be remiss if I did not say happy birthday to my wife. It is her birthday tonight, and I would be in big trouble. I'm in big trouble already because I'm sitting here. But I would be, yeah, I don't think she's watching, but if she is, this will help me, Patty, believe me. And I'll make sure I show her the tape afterwards in a couple of days or so. But I want to say happy birthday to her. I will not, night at the spa, she's out with her mom right now. So, and Friday night, my son is home from URI. So the 4 of us, my daughter will go to dinner. But I did have to say happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday.
She's young. She's young at heart and in her mind and in her soul. I don't know if she's as young as that definition there. Maybe. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I'm going to stop talking right now. I'm going to stop talking right now.
Jack,
I'll
we're
cut
gonna
the
have to-
tape.
we're gonna have to edit
Jack,
that.
edit the tape, please. All right, let's move forward. I'm done. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, brings us to student board member report. Dylan, anything you want to report?
I think we'll appreciate that I really don't have much to say right now. Really, the only thing that's been going on in the school, sorry for my voice, by the way, we had our photo, and that was about a week and a half ago. I think that was the 9th and 10th. That was a big success. We have a Spear Week going right now because, I mean, come on, we're going on break. And on Friday, we have our holiday volleyball tournament, which, by the way, I'm going to win this thing. It's a big thing. A lot of people really enjoy that, and it keeps people coming to school the day before break, which, I mean, a lot of the time people just skip the day before break. So it's a good way to keep people involved. That's really all I got.
And the Festival of Trees was tremendous success, well put together, and it was so hard to vote on a Christmas tree. Because all of them was just amazing. So did a really nice job with that too. Yeah. Thank you, Dylan. All right. Brings us to approval of minutes. Item D. Need a motion for the approval of minutes for December 6th. Stephanie, and second by Vinnie Reynolds. Second, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Any visitors, Allison? No visitors tonight? All right, business items. Item 3, we have a consent agenda A through D. I need a motion, please. Vince Reynolds, second by Sabrina Pickowicz. Questions or discussions? All right, just one question. School lunch report, Chris. It looked like we were running a little bit of a deficit fund balance. It was like negative 48,000. Once that implementation of that free lunch program comes into play, that should offset that.
Yeah, you'll see that turnaround, but go ahead.
Yes,
Ms.
and
Sarakis.
that was just for that 1 month, that deficit. So it,
When I looked at the year to date, it looked like there was
it was like
a small-
48,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she still has plenty of funds in
Oh
fund
yeah,
balance.
no, I'm
for-
just, yeah,
yeah.
I'm just my point is, like I said,
But-
in January, once we're able to get reimbursement from the state, that
Yes,
number
so
should
we-
start to climb.
Right.
quite a
So
bit.
we did get the approval. We found out today. I did send
Mm-hmm.
an email out to everyone, and it was for the 13 now of
Mm.
the 15 buildings. So it was Grundy and Tamarack that now are pulled out. We've already started the direct certification of those buildings, so we'd be ready for the April database. So the approval goes from January 1st through June 30th, 2027, and then there's a 1-year extension after that. So we're, once we get the April database out and we know that we have then Grundy and Tamarack in there as well, we'll resubmit the application and then everybody will be on it for the next school year.
Yeah, so the 24-25 school year, all 15 schools.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate again, that's the state education department tells us, New York State tells us
Yes.
who is eligible, not us. We didn't sit there and say, okay, let's throw darts and figure out which ones are going to, right?
No, and at the last meeting, we originally thought that we were able to loop Tamarack in as well, but when they were reviewing our data, they made several requests back and forth, and then they said that we didn't have the numbers for that.
Okay, so motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 4, we have personnel consent agenda A through Q. Any motion, please? Mr. Cerny, second. Okay, Vinnie Reynolds, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
If we could just take a moment to recognize one of our teachers, Jessica Rubin Frank, who is going to be retiring at the very beginning of February. She has been a elementary teacher at the middle school, 6th grade level, and various elementary schools over the years. She's decided to take her craft of literature and writing, and she's been utilizing that skill to write children's books. She shared some of them with me last week, and I had the opportunity to take a peek at them, and as well as some other writing literature that she's hoping maybe someone can kind of take a look at and maybe have it bloom into the field of some type of a production. So stay tuned. There may be other opportunities where she comes in as a substitute teacher or going through some other area, or maybe even on some local TV show at some point. So we'd like to congratulate her on her retirement. And then also sitting in our audience today, we have Julia Haran, who has been with us for several years. She will be taking over the torch over at Seneca in the middle school program, working with Miss Salvia and her team and the English department to help make sure our kiddos are ready to rock and roll for the remainder of the year. And she's been with us for the last several years, doing many leaves, and we are very happy to have her and have a helpful transition. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Item 5 is personnel consent agenda A through I. Any motion, please? And Matthew Bauman, second. Mike Cerny, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Mr. Scavo, we also had another retirement on here. So being the chief of a high school, in this case, High School East, Mr. Chiafalo is retiring as the chief of High School East. And that's a big operation, as we know. There's a lot going on. It's like the city that never sleeps. So he is going to be taking this opportunity to spend some time with his family locally as a Sachem employee and resident. And we want to wish him all the best in his retirement and thank him for all the years of services, rain, snow, and sleet.
Item 6 is contracts. We have consent agenda A through F. I need a motion, please. Alex, and seconded by Vinnie Reynolds. Questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 7, we need a motion for approval of an expedited hearing. Any motion, please? Michael Cerny, second. Sabrina Pikowitz. Questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 8, Committee on Special Education. We have a consent agenda A through B. I need a motion, please. Matthew Bauman, second by Stephanie. All right. Questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 9, monthly reports. Any reports from any of our advisory committees?
So we had a budget advisory committee meeting last night. The group is prepared to present to the board. So I did share with them that on the 10th, you can get 10 minutes on the agenda. So they're working on, the summary of all their options. as it relates to security.
Should that be a public conversation? Do you feel?
I've asked them,
Mr.
we're going to
Reynolds,
meet
or-
again. We're going to meet on
Exactly.
January 3rd to see what the deck looks like. And I've asked them to get a final deck so I can send it to the board by the 5th for review. And then we can figure out, is that
Yeah.
public or private, right?
We can
The
share
goal,
it,
though,
Mr.
Dr. Pelletier, was we laid out 3 different options, and all they're going to do is present out the costs associated with those options.
Okay.
So I don't.
No detailed discussion about how,
and
where.
it's not a discussion for it, against it. It's literally
how many, where, how.
Yeah, there was
anything
3
like that.
options. Here's the cost associated, what that would look like. So that's the extent of the presentation. So,
Yeah,
but I did ask him to get it by the 5th, and we'll share it with the board and the
Great.
administration for you guys to look at it before anything goes public. Okay.
Okay. Any other updates, Stephanie? Oh,
The
Mike.
legislative committee is, we're going to have a meeting in January to start the forum preparation. But also, Jim Kiernan's going to be on the radio with Bob Vecchio, a spotlight on Long Island schools, talking about the school security guard enhancement training. So that's going to be taped on January 22nd. I don't know if it's live, but I'll find out more information and I'll get it to the board and, encourage our legislative committee to watch it.
Mr. Cerny, question?
Yeah, just at the last meeting, it was discussed about the policy committee had to get together. We do have a meeting scheduled for January 3rd. So that'll happen.
Okay. Ms. Pigwitz?
Curriculum Council met today on Zoom. Prior to this meeting, we went into our breakout groups. So Laura, Meredith, and I each went into a group, and we had our individual discussions. I went into the group with curriculum. We heard a lot of the updates, some of what we heard today. We also, the parents were able to look at the middle school and high school health workbook, so that there's transparency. They could see what is being presented in those classes. There was a lot of good discussions on AI and some, Matt, you said before, some programs that they're using to differentiate and all that. So there was a good conversation there. And then we meet again on February 7th, right? I don't know if you want to add what happened in your groups.
So I was in the breakout group on GPA, grading, regents, all the things that we've discussed about here. I have to say again, my favorite person, as I just told Dylan, is Andrew, our student. No matter what he discusses or what the discussion is, he never thinks about himself. He always thinks about how any policy will affect all students, even students that I may not consider. And it's just something very genuine about him. And he said, when we're talking about AP classes or honors classes, some students can't take them because of economically, they have to work after school. They can't put in the time. When we talk about a do no harm policy, yes, some students are not going to be affected by that, but there are a lot of students that will be affected negatively by adding a regents into a grade. And so we should, anytime we consider a grading policy or any policy in our school, we have to consider how it affects all students, not just the specific ones we're concerned about, or not just thinking about, if one school, like a middle school, they could say, well, 99% of our kids pass the regents. So that means that 1%, must not be trying or studying as hard. But in middle schools, only honor students take regents. So that's not really giving you a perspective of all students that are taking regents. So he just always brings it back down to, I'm not affected by any of these policies. I'm a good student. I never have a problem taking a grade. All my regent scores are as high as I could ever want them to be. But it's now just about me. When you consider it and when you speak on the board, make sure you're speaking of all students in our district. So I just have to say, anytime I get discouraged by things that go on, this young man just brings it back to our culture of caring at Sachem and how he really cares about all his fellow students. So it was another great session today.
Meredith?
I was in the session for project-based learning. And we did have two current students in there who have a little bit of experience with it, and both really liked it for different reasons. We were all talking about how, not every child is able to absorb everything by a teacher standing in front of them telling them information. But when you put your hands on something, not only are you going to absorb it a little better, but you're also more emotionally connected to it. So you're going to be prouder of the end result. And so hopefully we'll be approved for being part of this new, what is it called, Erin?
It's the pilot plan program.
Couldn't think of that one. The pilot program. So hopefully, with any luck, we get into it. And if not, we've already said that we're going to charge forward anyway because we're that kind of district.
Okay. That's with audit committee. Any updates from audit committee? Our next meeting scheduled?
So tomorrow, I'm having a a Zoom meeting with the internal auditors just to schedule the upcoming field work for internal audit, the detail testing. So once they complete that work, that meeting would be in the spring.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Public comment? Councilman? No. Jack, did you want to speak? No. Okay. Old business. There's nothing on the agenda for old business, but I did have a conversation with Dr. Pelletieri a day or two ago. Didn't get on the agenda, but we did ask, Chris Venator, our attorney, to just kind of update us. I know some of us have been getting emails and phone calls about the lithium battery storage facility as to what is the Board of Education doing, and we are continuously working on it. So I'm just going to ask Mr. Venator if we can give us an update so the community can hear, what we're doing, what our timelines are, and what our plan of attack may be.
So we intend to have a resolution on your January 10th agenda authorizing Ingram and Smith to bring an action to challenge the order of the Public Service Commission from, I think it was September the 12th or 13th. So we have 4 months to, deadline is October 12th to 13th in order to bring that action. So our plan is to have the board authorize litigation and then to shortly thereafter bring litigation.
Is the date February?
Yes.
You said October.
I'm sorry, February.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, February. But we plan on doing it in January.
Okay, you start the litigation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Submission of the paperwork.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any
Ask Chris one
Sure,
question.
absolutely.
Chris, when we start that process, is that something that would delay the beginning of a project while that's taking place, or that would continue to move forward, in your opinion?
Well, if we're successful, then in my mind, that would completely stop the project.
But what about in the process of starting the litigation? Would that pause any?
Well, as part of the litigation that we intend to bring would be
stay?
to request temporary restraining order.
Yep.
So, I mean, it is a difficult standard, in doing the research and looking at what our burden of proof is in an action like this. So we're dealing with a particular agency, the Public Service Commission, which, they're not only do they have what's known as deference in terms of their decision-making, but under law, they have what's known as substantial deference because of the expertise that, that they have to bring to the table. So it's not an easy burden, but we're going to see if we can, bring forth some papers that will give us a chance to be successful, and we'll do our best. We know it's important to the community. We've been seeing all kind of articles in the paper, seeing, plans for, many different additional facilities here on Long Island. So this is an issue that's not only important to Sachem, but it's important, I think, the entire Long Island, entire New York State.
Any questions, Stephanie?
I just want to say that Fran Lunati will be ecstatic to hear this news. Like, she's going to be so happy.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chris. No board discussion items tonight. Any future discussion items from the Board of Education? Alex?
Just two quick. My first one of the things that the teachers had just said, and it's kind of alarming, is that some of the classes are over 30. I would like just some information, maybe in a packet. Doesn't have to be this Friday. It's going to take a little bit, but what we can do as a board to commit to getting that number lower. What will it take, other than money in splitting classes and hiring new staff? Do we have the space? Do we have to, what will it take to get that target number lower? Because 30 is just, it's not manageable. It's not conducive to learning at another level. It's just not,
Yeah.
great. And that's the only thing that they have asked for over the years. And the number seems to be going up. So just any information over, the next month, maybe we can gather and what we would need, and you can add it to a Friday packet. That would be appreciative.
I'll share the second.
Yeah, I just wanted to give credit to the kids running the Arrow radio and Mr. Laura. I'll tell you, as a visiting coach, they broadcast our basketball game. The kids reached out to me days before. They were looking for information on my team. They were looking for stats. They were looking for history. They really did a lot of legwork for the game. They were dressed up in suits. They did pregame interviews. They got flack from some of their friends that have Instagram comments, but they did a postgame interview with the opposing team. They were really the opportunities that we're offering and the taking advantage of it. It's amazing to see. It's amazing to see in person, and I'm just so proud of the work that group did that night for when we came to town.
Mr. Piccarello, if I could jump in there for a second. Those young men, I've met 4 of them thus far. As a young lady that works with them as well. They actually interviewed the star of the game, who happened to be your ball player on that evening. Yes, but they did a great job. I have a monthly radio show with them. I don't know if anyone here has heard me on the radio on Mondays. You have, Ms. Pickowitz? So I just did it this past Monday as well. Those boys, those kids they're a blast. They're so professional but fun. Love it. They want to continue to do it at that next level. And I do one Monday a month. I worm my way in there to talk with them about all things happening in Sachem. And these kids love the schools, love their teachers, love their, talk about their dads on around. I'm like, can you say that about your dad? He's going to be hearing you, So they're just so much fun. And it's a great 45 minutes to an hour for me to kind of break that box I'm in, and get out and have those conversations and share all that fun. And Mr. Laura is a real expert in this field, and he tells me I'm a natural. So does he have to? He doesn't. I'm telling him right now he doesn't have to, but he has told me on a couple of occasions. So you're right, Michael. Maybe he feels like he better keep saying it, but he doesn't have to keep saying it. But those boys, talk about naturals, and they're such good kids, and they're playing music and they're fighting with each other about who's supposed to do what in the station. It's a fantastic experience for me, and I got some insight to it a couple of years ago during COVID. Actually, I went in there with Mr. Weston. We had some conversations, and some young ladies that were on there now. But I want to see us build it and continue to grow it. And it's a great start for us with these young guys. They're going to do softball games as well. They're going to do some of the girls' teams as well, equal time, and make sure that we're talking about all the wonderful things around the district, and in particular North, since they're North students.
Any other future sessions? Vinny?
Just a comment add on to class size. If you recall, when we had the math and science folks in presenting, that was a request from them as well. Specifically, I think it was math. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Okay. Meredith?
It's more of just a comment. The holiday time, it can be very joyful, but it could also be very sad. And so if there's anybody at home listening that is struggling, we've had quite a few things go on in our district lately. If you're struggling, we have plenty of resources. And if we could maybe for this week put something on the website that, like on the front page, where they can reach out for help, because I know that there's lots of people that are having a very tough time with the holidays.
Okay. Any other future discussion items? Okay. Before we break and go into exec session, our next meeting is scheduled for January 10th, 2024. On behalf of the Board of Education, we want to certainly wish our community and our students happiest and healthiest holidays, and certainly a happy new year. So at this particular point in time, I need a motion to go into exec session to discuss immunization update, as well as sale and lease or lease of a building. Vinnie Reynolds, second. Dr. Bauman. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
Happy holidays. Thank you.